So, welcome to episode 236 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. What's up, man?
Glad to be back, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. Last week, we had to kick the can because I still haven't quite gotten down the schedule with this new gig. We did have a show last Tuesday with Bill and my buddy Mike, but I'm glad we were able to catch up on this one. I had only seen this once before.
Okay.
So, and I think it was immediate. So, I mean, this is 1996. We're talking almost 30 years. And I didn't have that many recollections of it.
Okay.
And then you were kind enough in your gift packet, to send me this DVD copy of Tom Holland's Thinner. And I just watched it again before we went on. If you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Let's do it, man.
Boogie to the woogie. So this, like the vast majority of Stephen King's adaptations, is based on a book. In this case, Thinner. Yes, you have. I just repurchased this, but unfortunately, my first edition came without a dust jacket. I was not aware of that. And I described this when we first started talking about the idea of a summer of Stephen King, that this was his most hateful book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it certainly is. What I didn't realize and what I didn't recall was that there are really no good people in this.
Oh God, no.
Everyone is just fucking. I mean, in the
other than the daughter,
story,
other than the daughter,
other than the daughter, there's just a teenage girl who happens to be the daughter of the main character, Billy. But everyone else is just an awful piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like these vying factions. And there's this sort of thing going on where nobody takes responsibility for their actions. Nobody.
Right.
It's, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And everybody is just attacking everybody and trying to kill, they're trying to kill each other. What did you think of, we always do our cursory sort of, bullet point description. What did you think of this film? And if you want to talk about the book, we can, maybe make these little sort of back and forth comparisons.
Sure. Well, it is my favorite Bachman book.
Okay.
And I like you said, it's very hateful. It's very mean. And that's how he wrote his Bachman, because he tried to be different than when he was writing air quotes as himself. It's too bad he didn't have the dust jacket, because this actually has the fake Richard Bachman photo in the back as the author. And he had this whole thing, always trying to keep it separate. I knew Dickie Bachman in college. He was a fucking prick and stuff like that, And again, like I said, it's a short read. You could probably, if you're a reader, get it done in a weekend. But it's a very angry book, like you said, hateful. And I was very excited when I knew the movie was coming out. And it's got its problems, but I'll explain it when we give scores, because you have, your 5 for cinema, and then we have entertainment factor. I'll definitely be going there. But a lot of the performances are pretty good. And even though all these people, aside from Linda the daughter, are fucking pieces of shit, they're very entertaining. Especially when it comes to Joe Mantegna, at least, and the actor who plays Lemke.
Okay.
So I really like those performances. And say what you will about the finished product, the practical effects from when Billy is, over 300 pounds to when maybe he's pushing 90 pounds is fantastic in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. Um, my opinion of this was that it was not one of King's better adaptations.
True.
It's the strength of the story itself that seems to carry it.
Hmm.
I was very surprised because for some reason I thought this movie was closer to 2 hours when really it's 90 minutes. It's a 90-minute film.
Right.
And this was a film I think that suffered from being too short. It's like I said, in terms of the story itself, it's one of his best.
Hmm.
But the film adaptation is something that could have used a lot more time to flesh out the characters. The
Yes.
characters are really kind of flat in the film adaptation, especially when it comes to the gypsies.
Yeah, I really
This,
wish we had more of them.
yeah, this was something that could have either been an hour longer, which back then we weren't going to get. It was 96. You weren't going to get a 2.5 hour King story, but this would have benefited much more from like a Mike Flanagan Dr. Sleep treatment.
Hmm.
And I was thinking this today, this would be fantastic as a limited series.
Yeah.
Especially because we're dealing with the rapid physical transformation of the main character as he goes from 300 pounds pretty much to 100 pounds in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
He goes from big fat, obese, Billy Halleck to somebody who is basically almost, like a camp survivor from the Holocaust.
Yeah, I was thinking like Christian Bale. If you ever seen a picture of him in The
The
Machinist.
Machinist, yeah.
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 Yeah, you're right on that. That's a good idea. Like if they had more time, because we don't get a lot of the gypsies, and Lemke has a huge backstory. You know what I mean? Because he's brought up by so many people, especially like when Billy's on the run. You know what I mean? He runs into that guy at the bar who, Lemke asked about, hey, how's your wife doing? You'll see her soon. My wife's been dead for 5 years.
Right.
How did he know that guy? What type of trouble has Lemke been in? That would have been like, you could dedicate a whole episode to that in like how sometimes they do like episode 5 is the prequel or the backstory episode, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. This was not a movie that should have been done in 90 minutes. Now, I don't know if it's not one of his bigger names.
Right.
It's not The Shining, or it's not, The Dead Zone, or it's not, any of the early sort of
Carrie.
stuff. Carrie. It almost sort of carries that almost that schlocky sort of thing that he did. It's right on the cusp of it. It's not quite, but it's right on the cusp.
It pushes it. It pushes it. I think a lot with some of the performances. Like like I said, I did love Joe Mantegna because he as the mobster. But like Carrie Wurr, she bless her heart, she is one of those actresses that's only hired because she's pretty. In my opinion,
back in the day, she was the B movie Skinamax.
Yeah. She's hired because she's got a great body, a pretty face, but she's not a good actress.
No.
And either when she's pissed off and yelling at him, or you killed my mama, or whatever she's trying to do, it just comes off flat and just like not. I don't mean to say intimidating, but you know what I mean. She doesn't seem dangerous, and this vibe of this gypsy camp is everybody's dangerous, and she's not. You don't believe her threats unless she's got that slingshot.
Yeah, and then you're just like, okay, why doesn't somebody just pop you in the head a good one? Just sit down and shut up, that kind of thing. Right. So, I mean, basically, we've got the story of in modern times, I guess although I don't like this term very much, you would consider Billy Halleck to be a man of privilege. He's almost stereotypical, like the leftist would call, privilege. He's white man, white male, fat guy, affluent. He's plugged in. He's
He's
kind of
got
a
the
douche.
money. He's got the money. He's got the pretty wife, the healthy daughter. You know, he's got his hands in. You know, with the
Yeah.
judge and the cops. You know, yeah.
Well, he's in. We open the case, and I don't remember if it is this way in the book. I don't believe that it was. It already opens where he's in court defending Richie the Hammer Janelli. I don't think that. I think Richie comes in later in the book. There's just like some passing references to him, if
It
I'm
might
not
have been. It's been a
mistaken.
while.
Yeah. So in the book, he's just this affluent lawyer, but in the movie, he's almost kind of like a devil's advocate, Keanu Reeves kind of character, where he knows he's springing guilty people. He's a mob
Yeah.
lawyer.
Yeah, he's
He's
doing
a
it for the
mob
money.
lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a mob lawyer. Joe Montana, who I like very much as an actor, is kind of playing this flat, kind of mobster. He's playing it,
I kind of like him.
Yeah, I like him too.
Yeah.
He was. I think he might have been the best character in there because it isn't until he comes in the second half of the movie that things start to kind of pick up.
What makes me like Joe in this film is he can tell that this is kind of cheesy, this is kind of schlocky, and that's where his performances is a little over the top Italian mobster. And I mean, he's Fat Tony from The Simpsons, you know what I mean? The wannabe stereotypical good fella, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's kind of running with that, and I think that's why I enjoy him so much. He knows what he's in. Okay, he knows he's in a Stephen King movie where he's a mobster hired to hunt down gypsies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not the Shawshank, or anything like that. It's supposed to be more fun. And see that's kind of the problem that I have is that I didn't necessarily want to see his most hateful book turn into something fun.
Yeah, you wanted the book.
Yeah, and it reminds me of when we originally talked about Creepshow. I'm like, why didn't they just make that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think that's a perfect fucking story. Like the original, not Creepshow, Children of the Corn.
Yes, that's right.
Like, why didn't they? Remember we talked about it. We're like, why didn't they just make that fucking story? Like, that's a terrifying fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't, and they gave us this, and so okay, but he's this fat lawyer, and he's mobbed up, and he's springing, guilty mobsters, and
what I like, what shows what's really kind of how much of an asshole he is. He's very cocky too. Like in the very beginning, Joel Montana's nervous, and he's basically saying, "Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got this." He's got that fucking shit-eating grin, when he tells him that. Yeah. And then, like after he wins, he kind of does that little hop in it. He's got that little hop in his step. So he's got that attitude.
So I mean, he goes out one night with his wife, and they've had a big meal, and they've probably had some drinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not shown, but you're kind of assuming, they've had a big meal. His wife's on him to lose weight. He's 300 pounds. And he's not for the WWE 300 pounds. He's just big fat guy.
Yeah.
And so they're driving. His wife decides just to go down on him in the car. Mm-hmm. And while he's not paying attention, he runs somebody over, this old woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening is that basically he uses his influence in the system with the judge. And they have it set up early in the movie where you can see what the judge and the police officer, the sheriffs or the chief of police, what their opinion of the gypsies are. Because it's like this caravan of gypsies who roll into their small town, and the judge looks like he's going to catch a disease, or he's thinking he's going to catch a disease. I mean, they completely objectify and dehumanize these people. I mean, it really is almost like if you made this movie today, you'd be like, holy shit, people would be fucking losing their shit.
Yeah. They're like one line away from saying, what are these people doing here? What do you mean by these people? You know what I mean? Something like they couldn't say nowadays. Yeah.
So, I mean, he ends up using his influence in the system to get himself sprung, which probably would have been something along the lines of vehicular manslaughter if it was done correctly. And in the story, although in the movie, I don't remember in the book. I mean, Stephen King is there. He's the pharmacist.
Yeah, Dr. Bangor.
Yeah, Dr. Bangor.
I like that little nod. Yeah.
He's lying. They were running out. He's
Yeah.
making up all these stories. The police officer, the chief of police, is saying, no, I didn't. He didn't fail a breathalyzer. He never breathalyzed Billy Halleck at all.
Right.
And he just gets completely sprung. Like, case dismissed. It was an accident. Bang. Next.
Mm-hmm.
So the father of this old woman, and I think they say Lemke in the story is like 106.
Yeah.
Places a curse on him and on
Mhm.
the cop and on the judge. But
Yep.
for Halleck, he calls the curse thinner.
Yep.
And Halleck just rapidly starts to lose all this weight, which at first he sort of interprets as a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
and quickly realizes that not.
Yeah,
Like
'cause
they
they
think
have
he has cancer.
Yeah, because they have that scene. He's like, I found the best diet in the world. While he's eating, like he's got handful, like arms full of fucking bags of potato chips, and he's just Robert, what is it? Robert John Burke, I think is his name. He's just
Something like that, yeah.
he's gorging himself in this movie. Like when he's eating that lemon meringue pie or whatever, and he's just eating it right out of the tin. He's like, I found a diet that works. I can eat whatever the fuck I want and still lose weight. And then the wife is getting concerned because they think it's cancer, and he's just like, whatever.
I did like the scene or the shot that they had when they run the old woman over. There's blood all over the windshield, and the wiper is smearing it.
Yep.
Yeah, smearing it. That was a good shot. But you realize sort of what a scumbag Halleck is.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling his daughter because his daughter's at the table. She's like, "Wait a minute, you're not going to get in any trouble for this."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, it was an accident. An accident isn't a crime."
Yeah.
You've got Stephen King lying and say, "Well, they were stealing." They weren't stealing.
Mm-hmm.
They asked the cop, "Was he sober?" Sober as a judge.
Yeah.
And
then he says that he says something like, I'll strike that from the record, given the situation. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game.
Yeah.
They're playing a game. Hold on a second. We've got Patrick, unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding, Patrick. What's happening? He said he's here for the Blue Demon chat. Goodbye, Patrick. The long walk is happening. They just announced new cast members today. Okay.
Yep.
Gypsies make great horror villains sometimes, if they do it right. This is an example where, well...
Drag Me to Hell, I think, did a better job.
Sure. Yeah, they did. Lots of King's stories or shorts are a bit schlocky. Well, this is a full novel. It's a short novel. It's not one of his biggest, but it's a short adaptation, that's for sure.
Right.
It could have used a Darabont treatment or a Flanagan treatment or, something like that. And, somebody with a better script. It needed a better script. The script was just short.
Well, if you look at the director's filmography, it's not the best either. I mean, he also did Child's Play and he did Fright Night, and he did The Langoliers. So he's schlock, you know what I mean? So it's his wheelhouse. So you're getting what you pay for.
We may never get another adaptation of this. I imagine there's probably not a great demand for, another remake of Thinner, but I wouldn't mind seeing it if someone did it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Even if somebody did like an HBO series or a Netflix thing or something like that, where they got a hold of it for like 4 or 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool. So, I mean, he's, all of a sudden he's 300 and then he's 283. And then you get to that one scene where his wife's talking to him and he's lost 40 pounds in 2 weeks.
Right.
And that's when she knows something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess we could talk about the wife a little bit because she's having an affair as well with the doctor who's treating him.
Right.
So, like, everybody is just...
Dr.
Dirt.
Mikey, yeah.
Everybody is just dirt in this. So that's another thing for me personally. I think I've talked about this. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this with you before. I don't like movies where there's no one to root for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get that. Like you don't really want Billy to die, but you kind of don't care if he does. That's the
No,
problem. Because
not really.
what really made me hate him is when he was blaming it all on his wife. And I know he yelled at her, you know, in an act of rage, but she said basically right, she threw it right back at him. She's like, you weren't complaining at the time, you know what I mean? But
Right.
he's basically saying it was all her fault. Well, he wasn't paying attention. And actually it's not her fault. He's the one that had the connections. He's the one that knew the judge. The judge had the cop, or the judge had the cop, you know, do perjury, saying, you know, the breathalyzer test and all this bullshit. So it's all Billy's fault. That's the thing, and he can't take responsibility.
No, well, I mean, you figure if you're a mob lawyer or in any way, you know,
Mm-hmm.
at that level, personal accountability is not your strong suit.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're pretty much living in a fucking fantasy. I mean, you know, you're a monster, but you're living in a
Mm-hmm.
fantasy land of rationalization.
You got to find out a way to bend the truth to make it seem truthful to you.
Right. You got to
Or
put the
make it
round
seem
peg
right.
through the square hole. You know,
Yep.
you spend your entire existence putting a round peg in a square hole. And so
Mm-hmm.
sort of everybody in this movie is in that position.
Right.
You know, they all rationalize how fucked up they are. And so there sort of is, with the exception of the daughter, there is no moral center. You know, it's difficult to get your bearings here.
Right.
It's good enough to show you that. The
Mm-hmm.
movie is good enough to show you that if you're paying attention. I don't think I was paying that much attention in 96.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where sort of my default position was for Halleck to, you know, sort of come out the other side okay.
Right.
Here, looking at it almost 30 years later, I'm like, these people are all just fucking awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little too much because, you know, everyone loves a great villain. Everyone, I mean, we've done episodes on our favorite villains. Everyone
Sure.
loves a good asshole. You know what I mean? But if there's no one to really root for, and we can't count the daughter because she's in it all of 10 minutes,
Right.
maybe. So it's really tough. And that's my thing is, like I said, I like it if we're looking at it as like a schlocky, goofy 90s movie, but overall there's more faults in it than good, in my opinion.
I would make the argument that Billy Halleck is the villain.
Yeah.
And
he's
Lemke
a
is
scummy,
the
dirty lawyer.
Yeah, Lemke is the asshole.
Yeah.
You know, Lemke's the asshole, but Billy Halleck is the villain. I mean, there's a mob lawyer who runs over an old woman, has it swept under the rug, blames his wife for it. You know, when the gypsies sort of take this natural law approach, you know, well, if Lemke says that to him, you know, you killed my daughter, you know, but you made it go away, you know. Now we have to do it our way, you know, or something to that effect. He
says, and see, that's the thing. You know for a fact Lemke's not a good man.
No.
But you can understand why. Yeah, you understand why he's doing what he's doing, regardless if they're thieves and they're stealing at the pharmacy, or if they're, you know, tricking people with their carnival games or whatever. They're doing that to survive. Okay,
Right.
Whoop-de-fucking do. It's like a guy stealing a loaf of bread because his family's starving. You know.
Yeah.
He is getting revenge because a man, regardless, like, because they keep saying, well, she ran out in front of 2 parked cars or whatever. Well, you know what? You still swept it under the rug. And he, like he says, what does he say? Justice is justice. You know what I mean? This is,
they had the discussion.
Yeah, he said, this is gypsy justice. I never take it off. I'll never take it off. And it's just, I'll tell you what, you know, I'm a father, you know, if I lost my daughter to some dickhead who's, you know, his wife's fooling around with him when he should be watching the road, and he's probably had a bunch of wine or whatever at dinner, and he gets away scot-free, trust me, I would know exactly what Lemke is going through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy, we see it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This would be a
Jason movie. I was just going to say, if this was like a Jason Statham movie, you know, he would be the hero.
Yeah.
You know, but they've set it up in this weird way.
Or what is it?
You know, Lemke's not quite, you know,
it's
he's
like,
certainly not a hero, but
is it that Jamie Foxx movie, like Law Abiding Citizen? You know, that guy's I can't remember who it is.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, his wife and family are, and daughter are killed. He gets put in jail. He's still getting revenge, but we're rooting for him
Yeah,
because of what he's doing and why he's doing it. So
right.
I'm not rooting for Lemke, but I understand it. You know what I mean? Because you also know he's probably put curses on for lesser things just to
Yeah,
fuck with people.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
They're all kind of monstrous.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, the police officer and the judge, they end up becoming disfigured.
Yep.
They both end up killing themselves
Hmm.
as their physical condition deteriorates. Now, what did you think? Now, you said that you were impressed with the practical effects in the film. Talk about that.
Well, I really liked him. I thought the fat suit wasn't bad. I didn't think it was the greatest, but like there's the scene where he's getting his physical and he's completely nude, and you have this overweight belly
Uh,
type of thing. This was like in the time of like Eddie Murphy and like the Nutty Professor, where they could have realistic
right.
looking fat suits. And
Yeah.
what is really impressive to me is the stages of the weight loss. You kind of see it in the face, not so much the belly until the very end, but when he goes from super overweight to healthy, air quotes looking, to gaunt, to sickly, to near death, where he's just a fucking skeleton. That's to me that's scary. Like the scene where he pulls up his shirt and you see the
Yeah.
rib cage. That
Yeah.
that's there's the scene where it's the pretty much the final scene where he's on the park bench, and you just look at and you could see the cheekbones so thin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have helped if we could maybe see like a little bit of his arms or something like that. I don't know if they didn't have the budget, but to me, what Robert looked like, or Billy Robert John Burke looked like at the end of it, I think it's very impressive, and I think that's where a lot of the skills or talent of this film lies, is in the prosthetics. Because if you don't believe this super fat guy is getting super thin, you've lost the audience even more.
It would benefit to. I mean, I think you're right, and in the sense that's its limitation as well,
Hmm.
because it's easier to make. I don't know what I think. I was more impressed by the thinner aspect of Billy Halleck than I was by the fat suit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That was where I'm like, okay, yeah, he looks fucking, especially by the time he calls in Richie. Like he's so fucking emaciated
Oh yeah.
that that was impressive. That was
Like
impressive.
that scene where he's sitting on the bed after he loses, gets his the ball bearing through his hand, when he's just sitting on the bed as the doctor's wrapping it around him, and he's just, he's passing out as this guy is bandaging him
Right.
up, and the doctor says, if you're on a diet, you have my permission to get off of it, type of
Yeah, you
thing.
can stop now. Yeah.
Or he's passed out like right there on the park bench, and Lemke has to lift his eyes open just to see if
Yeah.
he's still alive. He
Yeah,
says
he's
something like,
dying.
your nightmares stink, you know what I mean, or something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I think that really in a movie called Thinner, about a guy like losing weight till he's pretty much, he dies. I think that's the selling point, and I think they did a really good job on that.
It was good. It would be better today. Today you could
Oh
use
God, yeah.
CGI.
Hmm.
I mean, especially if you got a decent, budget for it.
Hmm.
That kind of thing. This could be something. But for the time, 30 years ago, yeah, that's a strong
I
point in the
I
film.
think for 1996, and when your biggest name is Joe Montana, I
Right.
think they did pretty good for their budget.
And I'm curious what the budget is for this. Hold on.
It was super small. I think it was like maybe 15.
8 million.
8, okay, 8 million, and it made 15. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it made 15.
Okay.
So okay, yeah, um, not one of his bigger successes. Yeah, Burke did lose 20 pounds to play the role.
Hmm.
So he sort of went with it as much as, within reason. He went with it within reason. Um, some of the things were, it did move into schlock though, like the dream
Yeah.
sequence where he's running out of and then suddenly he's running out of the camp. Um, and then suddenly Lemke's behind a truck. And I'm like, what the
That's so
fuck is
fucking.
going on here? And I'm like,
It's
why are
so
you
dumb.
doing this?
It's so dumb. And the problem is, like, yes, it's got its schlocky moments, but that just really goes off the rails for me. Like I don't mind nightmare sequences, but when he I don't know what he's doing, but then the judge pulls by and he's in full lizard face because he's getting scales all over his body. He's like, "Hey asshole, hop in," type of thing. And he takes him on the bridge, and then Lemke hits him in the truck. But then Lemke's now driving a bus on the other side to smash him. And Tom Holland, the director, his camera shots are not helping. Like
No.
when Billy's like, he puts his face and his hands up on the window, and the camera just zooms into him screaming, and then it cuts to him sitting up in bed. There's a lot of poor choices from the director, in my opinion, and that doesn't help. And see, like we've said before, you can have great actors, you can have great performances, but if you've got a shitty director, then
you've got so-so actors.
Yeah, like I said, the best is Joe,
Montaigne.
and I think that's because he's a great actor, but he knows what he's in, so he's in that schlocky type of tone. With
he's playing it over the top.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, he's playing it over the top, and he's not the most over the top thing in this fucking movie.
No. I mean, Halleck is discovering, that the walls are sort of closing in. He goes out and tries to find the gypsies. His wife is betraying him. They want to have him committed.
Yep.
So, I mean, even if, Halleck is an asshole for accusing his wife of causing the accident, which she didn't, I mean, they were in it together. They didn't, nobody owned up to it. So they're in it together.
And there was a part where she stopped and she was talking and he told her not to stop. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, even those details aside, she's very much a villain for cheating on him.
Right.
And then, you get the impression through the film that they're trying to use the relationship between her and the doctor, that his wife is using that as an excuse to sort of push him out.
Mm-hmm.
That the committal is a little bit about that too.
Yeah. Because there is that scene there where he's walking in and he's trying to get information or something like that. And the one guy says it's going to cost him $500. And the $500 is so he doesn't turn him in.
Right, they put out a $5,000 reward.
Yeah. Yeah, for have you seen this man type of bullshit. Yeah.
Man. So, I mean, he finally finds them down in the camp, and they have the conversation about justice, which is probably one of the better exchanges or pieces of dialogue in the film. And he explains to him, you did this and you didn't own up to it.
Right.
And they don't flesh out this enough. There's a morality to Lemke, in that he tells him, why don't you just, die a clean death?
Die with honor.
Just die with honor. Like, admit what you did. Take responsibility. And Halleck just refuses to do it.
Yeah,
there's no,
because even at the very end when he frees him of the curse, he looks at him and he says, "Die clean."
Yeah.
And he still won't fucking do it. And
no,
the ending pisses me off. We'll get to that. But the one scene where he's in the camp before he calls Richie, that I think that exchange, even the actor playing Billy still doing the hammy schlocky stuff. I really like the guy who's playing Lemke. I think he does a very good job, not necessarily being scary, but he does a really good job of making a 106-year-old man who's got cancer on his nose be intimidating. He's this frail man because, in my opinion, because you know what he can do. That's what I mean. You know what he can do. And because after that exchange, his granddaughter and her husband are they have to carry him away.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about his character. He's this frail old man, but you know what he can do, and you don't want to cross him.
And that's where we get to my favorite line in the whole story, and maybe my favorite line in all of King's what do you call it? In his entire collection. The Curse of the White Man from Town. I just thought that was a fantastic and just hateful kind of response.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, no matter what happens, everybody continues to double down.
And then you believe him because he's got the connections to make something happen.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, it's just.
Mm-hmm.
It's also probably what the history of. It's probably very close to the hearts of gypsies.
Mm-hmm.
Just constantly being run out of towns
Right.
and being abused.
Looked down upon. Yeah.
Their women are used for prostitutes. That's how they're surviving.
Mm-hmm.
They're forced to sort of dance for nickels. In this sort of carny way.
Yeah, because there's that opening scene. Show her this quarter and she'll lift up her skirt for you. That type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells him, he goes, "You really want to see what the white man can do once he puts his mind to something."
Mm-hmm.
And it's a real intangible thing that he's talking about.
Yep.
And you can tell that Lemke recognizes that. I don't think the others do necessarily.
No.
But
No.
Lemke does. He knows what this means, and he's like, you don't read about it in the history books, but
Mm-hmm.
entire civilizations get wiped out. It's
Yep.
it's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuclear weapons. It's atomic bombs. It's burnt turning cities to salt. It's that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening, man? We got the functioning drunk happening here. Thanks for
Dennis.
stopping in.
Yep.
All right, man. Hey, man, if you want to come in the chat, if you want to come in the stream, let me know. Hold on. What the hell? We're only talking about thinner, so.
I will say this. As much as we are kind of shitting on the movie, and we'll discuss it when we give our scores, it's a hell of a lot better than Children of the Corn. This is not the worst Stephen King film that we've discussed on this channel.
No. It's just, I want the book.
Right.
Like Children of the Corn, I want the book. I want that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that. So the Curse of the White Man from Town becomes Richie the Hammer.
Yep.
Played by Joe Mantegna. And this was probably the best part of the story because we start to get some action.
Yeah, this is where it finally ramps
action.
up.
Yeah, because it's about an hour before we get to the Curse of the White Man from Town. And then the final 30 minutes of the movie is Richie Janelli. So hold on a second. Take over for a second. I got to grab a Kleenex. I'll be right back.
Sure. And like I said, that's why this is, once we finally get to Joe Mantegna in this role, this is where it really amps up because there's actually something happening instead of a lot of, hey, this is a good scene. Okay, he's on the run. He's on the run. He's on the run. This is a good scene. He's on the run. And finally, Billy Halleck, he's able to show what the actual curse from the White Man from Town is because he's got these connections. And since he's defending all these mobsters and all these awful people, all he needs to do is make this phone call. And it shows that things are going to heat up because once the doctor cleans him up, the doctor says you'll be expecting a visitor tomorrow. And then that's when Richie shows up and it just starts something small. He's poisoning the dogs at the camp.
Yeah.
But he leaves that note. White Man from Town says, take it off.
Right.
And then that doesn't work. I think something else happens after that.
He uses the lookout, the mook.
That's right. The lookout. And then, he was a mook, but he was my mook. You know what I mean?
Because he gets carved up bad.
Yeah. And
he gets carved up bad by the gypsies.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's one-upmanship. You know what I mean? You poison the dog. Well, we killed your boy. Well, now I'm going to kill your son-in-law. Yeah. I'm going to, he gets the AK-47. He shoots the camp to shit. I don't know if he kills anybody, but they're it's blown to shit. And what he does is, he takes the son-in-law, gags him, ties him up, puts White Man from Town, says, take it off. He pins that to his chest, throws him over the fence, and he's running. Well, rightfully so. They see someone running at their camp after it was just blown to hell. They think it's Richie. They shoot him, and they find out who it is. It's the son-in-law. And again, Kari Wer's got to fuck it up with her acting with the reveal. But it just shows how Richie doesn't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. We said it in Midnight Mass. If anyone is willing to fucking poison a dog, there's no limits. You know what I mean? So that shows just how far Richie's willing to go.
Yeah.
And then there's the scene where he's in the barn with her, and he threatens her with the acid.
Yeah. At first, it's Pepsi. He throws the
Pepsi with baking soda or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then the second time it's
He said
real acid.
he pours and he's like again he's hamming it up, and that's what I like. The way he
He's
holds
got
the
that look
jar, he
on his
just kind of
face.
he twists the top. You know what I mean? Like he's like he's about ready to like tie her to the fucking railroad tracks and twirl his mustache. You know what I mean? And he pours it on. He pours it on her sweater or whatever, and you see the little bit of the hole. And he says, "If you want to wear this sweater, if you don't want to wear this sweater around your pretty face for the rest of your fucking life, don't move." And he places it right on her forehead. You know what I mean? So he's just a sadistic fucker, but he's having fun doing this, and you can kind of tell. Like I said, Joe knows the tone of the film, so he's kind of having fun doing this as an actor, I think, and it shows through. You know what I mean? Makes the film more. I don't want to say makes the film more tolerable, but makes it a lot more entertaining at least.
Now in the book, it sort of plays out that way, same way.
Mm-hmm.
Which eventually causes Lemke to relent,
right,
and remove the curse because it's starting to involve everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And there are bullets flying, and people are getting kidnapped, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, he knows it's going to get worse.
Yeah, and so he makes the strawberry pie.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the scenes I thought that was actually quite effective is when he sticks that knife through the hole in Billy's hand to make the blood fucking flow into the pie, even though the pie is pulsing. I'm like, that's so cheesy. Like they could have just left the pie alone, and that would have been enough. But he tells him a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him again, you killed my daughter. And you got away with it. So I did that. But now I have to take it off because I can't have this crazy person killing my granddaughter or my great granddaughter. I just, it's, okay. And I think in the book, isn't there talk of it being a push? Like it's a push. Like, we're breaking even here. I killed 2 of your friends. You've killed a couple of my people. I think there's the concept of a push, it being a push.
I'm trying to think of. I do know Richie doesn't make it out of the book alive, because I think after he gets the pie, he goes back to the car and they see it's just like Richie's hand, like laying in the car waiting for him.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But I don't remember. It's been so long. But I think he's basically saying, we're now even. Type of thing after he gives him the pie. But he tells him, he said, you got to transfer this curse to someone else. He says, you're not free, basically, until someone eats the pie.
It's almost like
he tells him to eat it himself. He's like you said, die clean. Eat it yourself. Put yourself out of the misery.
It's like Japanese The Ring at the end of have you ever seen that?
I've only seen the remake.
Oh, okay. No, I won't tell. I think the Japanese version is different, so I won't get into it. But it's that you have to pass it on to someone else to save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pass it on to someone else to save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he kind of comes back and, he's serving up pie to his wife. And the ending kind of falls apart for me. I mean, it's already loosely held together.
Here's my
thing. Like he's reciting he's whispering under his breath.
Yeah. It's like I like the ending of the book. It's a dark ending. It's a sad ending at parts, because he comes home, he serves his wife some pie, he finds out his daughter eats some of it, and then he's like, well, I just killed pretty much, the only thing I care about in my life, and then he eats the pie himself.
He finally kills the only good thing in the story.
Right.
The only good thing.
If the movie would have ended like him purposely giving the wife the pie, whatever, don't care. Does she deserve to die for cheating on him? No. But whatever, it's this fucking Stephen King movie. But then when we got the stinger where he sees the 2 plates, we don't see the daughter on screen, he doesn't know she's home, that type of thing. And then he serves himself, he cuts himself a piece of pie, boom, it ends just like the book. I'm okay with that. But the fact that he willingly gives his wife pie, and then he fucking makes out with her fucking corpse in the bed. I've always hated that. And you know me, I like some stupid shit with my movies. That was fucking stupid. I hated that. He goes down and he sees the second plate. And then, of course, Dr. Mikey has to show up. I mean,
Yeah, and
I
he's
don't
calling
know.
her the white woman from town. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
he's the
it's just
white
so
doctor from town. And you're
it's
just
just
like,
so
what are you
fucking
doing?
dumb. And then when he closes the door and he says something like "white man from town," it's too schlocky.
White doctor from town.
Yeah, it's if they would have taken if we didn't see the wife's corpse, and of course I'm fucking making out with it, and if we didn't see the doctor show up and he just realizes that he kills his daughter, you know what I mean? You don't gotta say it, just put two and two together. You see the extra plate, where'd the extra plate come from, type of thing. Maybe just show her backpack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he decides, because the book literally ends, he serves himself a piece of gypsy pie.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill himself and eat it. It's just they ham it up so much, and I'm really rolling my eyes at them. Like, you could have had it end like the book, and they decided to really go the schlock route, and they
A
lost me.
perfect example of more being less.
Yeah,
More is less.
yeah,
And that's kind of how it ends. I mean,
yeah.
90 minutes, not nearly long enough, thin, schlocky ending, scenes in the middle that are not his best. Not his best work. Not his
No,
best work.
not his best, not his worst, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. Because well, I mean, Children of the Corn, you had a great story too, but just didn't work out. All right. Is there anything in this film that we have not discussed that you would like to reference or bring up?
Not really. It's just you got to be in the right mood for this, and it depends on if you like schlocky stuff. If you don't, this isn't really the movie for you.
I think this was back in my weed smoking days, so I might not have noticed a lot of things,
If you're a fan of the book,
yeah,
like I said, this is my favorite Bachman book. And if we're counting King as well with Bachman, it's up there. It's probably in my top 10. I don't think I would say 5, but top 10 all around with his work. Go into this movie with, like, we'll discuss, we're going to do the scores, but go into this with very low expectations and don't expect the book. Do not expect the book, because
you're not going to get it.
It's a hateful book, but all you get really is just a bunch of assholes. You know what I mean? The tone is different. Tone is a lot different.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth. There's not a lot of depth. And there could be. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather have a horizontal butt crack than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is this is the journey, this is the destination, this is why I watch films in the first place. Eric, what would you give Tom Holland's Thinner?
Okay, 100% honest. My type of scores are sometimes different, but for the basis of American Werewolf in New Jersey, okay, I think I'm going to give it a 3. And I think that's because I can't give it a 3.25. You know what I mean? There's no way in fucking hell I'd give it a 3.5.
Shouldn't.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to give it a 3.5. No, God, no. It's schlocky. It's 90s King, but it's just, if the source material is so good, they could have done a lot better. Even if their hands were kind of tied with a budget, they could have gotten a better actor instead of just Joe Mantegna. A little bit more of Lemke, his backstory, knowing what he's done instead of just some drunk saying, my wife's been dead for 5 years and he knew it, type of stuff. I wish The Curse from the White Man from Town was a little longer, but I don't hate this movie. You know what I mean? It's I didn't waste my time with it. I might revisit it. Like, this is one of those movies, like, if my buddy comes along and we want to have a few beers, hey, do you want to watch a kind of a schlocky movie to kill time before he goes home and go, get some food to sober himself up? I'd put this in. You know what I mean? Something like that. It's Children of the Corn, I'd give like a 1.5, maybe a 2. I think 3 is being pretty fair for Thinner.
All right.
Go ahead, Mike.
I am going to go with a 2.5.
Okay.
A 2.5. It has great potential. You've got a great story here. Is it as mangled as Children of the Corn? No.
Right.
Does it get into any sort of depth with the storytelling when you know that it could? No.
Right.
Very flat. You didn't really care about any of the. I didn't really care about any of the characters. It's interesting though, like I said, to watch it now and realize that Halleck is the villain in my mind. Is Lemke a villain? Yes, but the villain of this story is
Billy
Halleck, and the police officer, and the judge, and his wife.
Yeah, to some extent,
you know, and the doctor. Yeah, so the white people from town kind of are the villains. And I liked Montaigne in the last 30 minutes of it with him. I thought that breathed some real energy because I've got a real actor working here. Okay, I've got a real actor working here. Something's happening now, and so I appreciated that. It's at the upper end, I would say, of content.
Yeah.
The upper end of content.
I put it like to discuss like when we started doing ratings for this show.
Right.
I think I gave like Highlander a 3. You know what I mean? It's content. It's got its fun moments. It drags a little bit. I wish there was more to it type of thing. So I don't know. I think maybe I'd rather watch Highlander than this again if I'm given the choice. But I think they're kind of equal when it comes to if we're for the basis of a podcast, we're picking apart stuff. You know what I mean? Looking at it.
Right. Yeah. You're watching it for the purposes of critique, not necessarily just for the entertainment value.
Correct.
All right. We're gonna have to figure something out for next week. We'll put our heads together.
We'll definitely up the ante.
yeah, we got to move in a different direction now. We got to move into. I'll think of something.
Sure.
All right. Plug something.
Hey, Internet. Eric here is the YouTube channel. I'm discussing nothing but movies I have not seen for this year. To go with the schlock stuff, I'm still doing Sharks and Schlock with Patrick, who was in the chat earlier. I'm watching shitty shark movies I have one more to go, but he's watching shitty movies as well. August 13th, we just confirmed it. Me and Alex Frenzy are reuniting for the first time in a handful of months. We are actually doing a watch along of, it's just us, bullshitting for 90 minutes, but we're going to watch a Mortal Kombat movie, a brainless action movie, but it's just pretty much just going to be us bullshitting since we haven't seen each other in 2 months. And then I might not have it uploaded tomorrow, but by Saturday night, I'm definitely changing tone. Mike, I will have a video up on a dark song.
Oh, very nice.
I've been trying to watch for the last couple of days. I've been too fucking tired from work, and this is a movie that needs my undivided attention.
Yes, it does. It is a dialogue movie.
So I probably Saturday, as of this recording, I will have a video for a dark song, and then after that I have no fucking clue what I'm doing because I'm just going off the seat of my pants for the channel.
All right. So in the next day or so, I will come up with the next film.
Sure.
And we'll have to do something of quality this time. I enjoyed catching up to this again.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, though, that sometimes it doesn't always hold up. So
nope,
comes with a chance.
Yeah, it's a chance to, and it didn't cost you anything. You know what I mean? So
no, it certainly did not, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I think we're going to bring this to a close. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. My thanks to Patrick, unfortunately, for stopping by again. And thanks to the functioning drunk Dennis. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, Dennis is somebody. Dennis is somebody. If we ever talk wrestling, he'd be a perfect candidate for the show.
Well, we got SummerSlam coming up soon, so we'll have to get on that. Hey, get out of here,
Alrighty.
Cat. All right. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.